Hi, this is Mike of Nearly Enough Dice, and this is the Kerbal Space Program. I am launching the Steel Snake with Valentina in command. Steel Snake is my moonlander. I made a couple of adjustments. I have finally remembered to put lights on the lander. I've also put I can't do this out of the lab. I've also put a barometer. You can't actually see it. There you go, log pressure data. Oh, I apparently haven't actually collected data from here. Oh, there you go. I have heard that it's actually possible to get atmospheric data, as in to run the barometer even in vacuum space, because the fact that the vacuum space has zero pressure, it might be a piece of useful information. So I've decided to chuck it on anyway. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. I'll keep that. So that's one of them that I'm going to have to collect data off. Well, technically I could do it now. One of the other adjustments I've made is I put that ladder on. Before I had the very simple rungs that couldn't go all the way down. So now Valentina should be able to go all the way down to the ground. Oh, she gets stuck halfway. Oh, never mind. But okay, that's fine. But that's only going to be a short drop to the ground when the thing's all put together. But she can climb up. So there you go. That wasn't actually terribly useful. Can I board? Yes. Right. Anyway, that was enough of that. Let's get this party started. I've also made some slight adjustments to the thrust to weight ratios and stuff, and we'll see how that goes. Change staging a bit so the main engine fires at the same time as everything else, which hopefully should mean that when we lose these, because before with the original Steel Snake design, the original Steel Snake design, this top half would actually fall out of the sky because it didn't have enough thrust to weight ratio. But that should now be mitigated. So let's go to the moon.
And off we go at 4 times normal speed, zooming into the air. I've started to get the hang of getting to orbit now, I find. I mean, so long as I keep track of my thrust to weight ratio and I'm kind of careful on the throttle, and I'll set the thrust to weight ratio on these things in particular, so they don't send me too far up. However, I have made a mistake. When I put this craft together, when I made the modifications to the Steel Snake, I actually adjusted the engines on the lander as well as everything else, which means that the staging got changed and I didn't check them properly. So as you can see, the lander engines are in fact burning, and they are contributing to the wobbling of the rocket because the skipper engine, the radial engines, the fins, and the engines on the lander are all trying to gimbal and are all trying to adjust the direction the rocket is going. So here I am actually ungimbling with some effort the main engine, and you notice that completely stops the wobble. The fact that the lander's engines have run out of fuel has also helped. So having too many things trying to control your rocket is actually a problem that can cause a lot of wobble. And you'll also want to make sure that your lander engines don't fire before you mean them to. So it's still a pretty smooth orbit, and I didn't go too far off. The first thing I have to do, I need to refuel the lander engines, and I kind of skipped through that. And I am now adjusting the staging back to make some sense. what I have not done is I have not actually disabled those engines. I haven't realised this. I thought that just putting them into a stage and putting them in the backstage would change things, but no, they're still active engines, which is a bit of a shame. So I'm circularising my orbit, and I haven't noticed that my land engines are also still working. So here I am setting up the moon encounter. So I'm skipping through a lot of things here, getting rid of my orbiting stage, and you'll be able to see a disgusted expression on my face when I realise that I've still haven't set my lander engines to be off. So I'm just adjusting, doing some fine tuning to my maneuver node, checking the moon apoapsis, moon periapsis, my apologies, together as I want them to be. Doing some science along the way, getting temperature and pressure, forgetting about all the mystery goo canisters I've got for stimulation. So there I am, disgusted face, as I realise that my lander engines are still firing, which is exceedingly annoying. But, you know, other than that, the orbit is going as I want it to do, and I'm easing my way in. But as I'm about to discover, although I think that I've got my orbit pretty nicely put together and I'm very, very accurate, when I actually go and check the moon, you can see them actually ramming the moon, which is a bit of a problem. So I actually have to go back and adjust that orbit there. So now I'm refueling the lander again. Fortunately, I've got a lot of spare fuel. And then I'm actually going to disable the engines, because I finally worked that out. That's what I needed to do. Now, the only question I had was, will they automatically re-enable when they get restaged? And I'm not going to be able to find that out for quite some time. So, obviously, I set up a circularization node at the moon. Check some science stuff. Just to see whether or not I'm already where I am in terms of am I high over Kerbal, am I low over Kerbal? So now I'm definitely high over Kerbal, so I'm going to do some more science, again forgetting the mystery goo completely, which is very annoying. I've now switched ahead to changing SOI, and I should have done some science at that point. I forgot to do science. The other thing I forgot to do was, in my itinerary, I was actually going to go polar. I was going to do an adjustment midway through on the transfer and do a polar orbit, because if you do a polar orbit, it's very easy to grab a lot of biome science. You do EVAs over the biomes as you pass over them, and if you do a polar orbit, you will get pretty much all of them if you wait long enough. So, you know, I've ended up in an equatorial orbit, so, you know, I just deal with it. I adjust my orbit because I want to get to that crater, which is just there. I adjust it so my orbit passes over it, and then I fiddle with the orbit. I was going to circularize, and then I thought, maybe I should just go straight for landing. Going, no, and then eventually I put it so that the apoapsis was directly over the crater, so that meant that the periapsis would be exactly on the other side, and that would be a good place to do my burn, to kind of get very close, but just skimming the surface, so I can actually do a landing. As I go around, as I'm about to do that burn, that was me doing a thrust limit on the engine, which enables me to do maneuvers much more precisely, because I've got a lower thrust, and therefore the burns take longer, therefore my puny human reflexes can cope with them. So that was a useful thing to do. I'm also going to be checking the biome indicator from Kerbal Engineer as I go around the equator, setting up nodes. So that's the node for setting up my landing. I do a quick save, which turns out to be useful. Spoilers, but yeah. So I set up a very low orbit there, very, very low periapsis, which might not have been the best of plans, but never mind. So I found a new biome, so I'm doing some more science. every biome you go over, you just get more. You get more sites each time. So even just doing orbit, but it would have been even better had I been in my polar one, because I could have got a whole bunch instead of just whichever ones are along the equator, which is not all of them. So so now I'm burning to bring my periapsis down, and that's going to bring me very, very low over that large crater. And so I time warp to reasonably, what I think is a reasonable distance away, and then I point up. The idea being that if anything gets too high, I can just jet out of the way. But unfortunately,
well, someone wasn't paying attention. Oh, and the game has crashed. Well, there you go. That gives me a good excuse. And in fact, I'm going to have to go back to the previous save because the game will force me to. Sad. It's not my fault. Hi. Right. Okay. I've redone. Yeah. I've redone various things. Is what I've done. And one of the things I did was I made a point of actually checking what my periapsis was going to be instead of just trusting the maneuver node, because I occasionally have discovered that I think I've performed the maneuver perfectly as far as the nav ball is concerned, but it's then turned out that I've overshot. When I was coming to the moon this time, that happened. I thought I'd done the maneuver really, really nicely, but instead of having a lunar periaps of it was actually near 30k. I was in fact ramming the moon at high speed, which is probably not very healthy. So I actually put a tag on my periapsis, so I could actually watch it come down. So I know that my altitude is going to be 10. Well, my altitude should be 10. 10 of my SS. My altitude should actually be 10,000, not just I calculated is going to be 10,000 according to the nav ball. I actually watched the number come down, which I think may well be a smarter way of doing things. So I think that might be part of the reason why I smashed the first time. Now I'm going to unthrust limit this, because if it goes wrong, I'm going to want to lose my velocity quite quickly. Other thing I'm not 100% sure about is, are these engines going to... I've had this issue where these engines were in the wrong staging, and because of that, I've had to manually deactivate them. I don't know if I can. Will staging them properly reactivate them? I don't know. I can but hope. Got 61 meters per second left in this. So I've also got a maneuver node set up at about time to kill your speed. This is looking very lumpy. This is much lumpier than I want it to be. So I'm going to have to do a lot of the speed killing on my landing. Engines. This is looking very lumpy. Right, so now I'm going to go surface retrograde. I'm just going to do it now, I think. I'm trying to aim for that area. That looks less lumpy than the other bits. So I'm going to get my 61 out of this. Get rid of it. Hope to hell these fire. No. Okay, so I'm going to have to manually activate them. That was stupid. Okay. Alright. What's the worst that can happen now? Ha ha ha. So in fact, I am just going to kill my surface speeds, my horizontal speeds. So I don't really need the node anymore, it's not actually giving me any useful information. I'm actually distinctly feeling the falling out of the sky. I've got 7,000 meters before I'm in trouble. Wasting a bit of delta V because I've set myself to point retrograde rather than just pointing straight at the horizon. Oh, my ladder's extended. That might be a bad thing. Let's retract the ladder. Let's put the gears out. Let's put my lights on. Let's finish off. That hit C instead of what I wanted to hit, but that's fine. I'm now, as far as I can gather, going straight down. So right, I'm going to go for. I'm using the suicide burn calculation of Kerbal Engineer. So when that approaches 0, that's when I want to go for it. I am drifting slightly. I've got a slight horizontal speed, but okay, this is a bit nerve-wracking. I'm just gonna have a quick save.
A quick save just before landing? I do hope that's not some kind of ominous foreshadowing. But you're going to have to find out next time, because I'm going to be doing the landing in the next episode. So thanks so much for watching. I do hope you've been enjoying these videos. Please hit like and subscribe if you have been. You can find Nearly Enough Dice at nearlyenoughdice.com, and we are also on Twitter and Facebook, so just search for Nearly Enough Dice and you'll find us there. And in the meantime, until next time, reach for the stars.